Welcome to Stoughton Spotlight. I'm your host, Jeffrey Pickette. We're continuing our Conversations with the Candidates series, where I'll be sitting down with the residents running in contested races for the upcoming town election in April. On this episode, we'll be featuring the school committee race, and I'll be joined by one of the candidates running. There are 3 candidates running for 2 spots on the school committee. And let's introduce you to Dr. Erdem Ural, a former school committee member. So Erdem, thank you for joining me.
Thank you for inviting me, Jeff. It's a pleasure doing this with you.
So Erdem, what made this year right to run? You've run the last couple of years unsuccessfully, and you're running again this year. Tell us about your decision to try again to get back onto the board.
Well, I have obviously a big interest in schools because I have 2 kids, and my younger son is in elementary school, 5th grade, so he's about to go to middle school next year. And my older one graduated from middle school, but he chose to go to Southeastern Regional Vocational School. But he may still go back to Stoughton High School. So I have a vested interest in making the school system better. And I'm also a taxpayer, homeowner, business owner in Stoughton. I want the Stoughton schools to get better because we can do better. So that's why I will continue running, and I will continue, affecting the future of the schools.
So what's your vision for the schools? What's your goal in the next 3 years if elected? What would you like to see the school committee and the schools itself do if you're back on the board?
Well, the top priority is to get finish the high school project. Get it started as soon as possible and get it finished in track. I like to center the attention of the school committee and administration on the students, not so much on other matters, but student achievement is a big thing. So we want to improve student achievement in all Stoughton schools, and also for all students. Students come with all spectrums, some special education, some high achievers, some who like social sciences, some who like science, some who like math. So we want to give opportunities to all of them to excel in whatever they are doing. The third priority is to improve the college and career readiness of the students and of all our kids. And the last one is the transparency, keeping the administration accountable, and keeping the school committee accountable, and be a spokesperson if there is some issues with the transparency, and be the voice to express those so that we could solve all the problems, not brush them under the table.
So let's start with student achievement and the testing. What's your take on where Stoughton's testing scores are right now, and what can the school committee do to make sure that the test scores become better, continue to point in the right direction?
Well, that's 2 questions, so let me address each question. Sure. The first question you asked is what is the status of student achievement in Stoughton schools. They are measured by different factors, like how many kids are going to Tier 1 colleges, how many kids are going to college, how are the students performing in standardized tests such as MCAS, PARCC, or SATs. I don't have, we don't have the data to look at, the college placement of the kids that went in. I don't have access to that. But it seems like, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, a lot more students were going to first tier colleges. That seems to have dropped within the last 10 years, but I don't, again, I can't really substantiate that. SAT scores have been average, below average, although we noted a slight increase this year. It's too small an increase. It could be just a fluctuation, so I want to see a more substantial increase in the SAT scores. Superintendent said, if people send their kids to SAT courses outside, that could increase their SAT scores by 100. But I said, why send them outside? Why can't we have classes? So I think they took my suggestion, considered it, and this year at the high school program of studies, I see a course for SAT prep. So I think that's an optional course. And the MCAS and PARC, we have a few schools that do really well, like the Hanson School or South School. Our high school is on the average side. As you know, our high school used to be level 1, but after the standardized testing last year, our high school slipped to level 2. Same thing with the Gibbons School. The Gibbons School was level 1, but at the last year's PARC and MCAS results, it was dropped to level 2, but it's still considered level 1 because the state made a promise. It said, try the PARC, even if your kids don't do well in PARC. If you drop a level, we'll hold you harmless. We'll still list you as level 1. So if you look at the Department of Education website, it says Gibbons School level 1, and in parentheses it says hold harmless. So it's level 2.
Well, is there too much being made about test scores, though? Are you a believer that it is a good barometer on the school district's achievement?
Well, as I said, that's one of the parameters. I think it's important. The other concern, I think the administration and the school administration is actually making too much out of the test scores because they are teaching to the test. I have a kid in elementary school. He's complaining every day. They have these Ames web, giving the tests over and over again. Says, I don't have time to learn. They just keep testing me. So education, people say it takes a village to educate the kid, and it should be a well-rounded education, including the social, emotional, and knowing the stuff, reading, writing, arithmetic, and other sciences. But since administration is giving so much weight to testing, certainly the standardized tests are an important factor in assessing the performance of the school.
Now, you mentioned transparency, and how would you, first of all, how would you say that the administration, in your eyes, is handling transparency? And then secondly, how would you have graded yourself from being with transparency when you were the chairman of the school committee when you were last on the board?
Well, this is another two-part question. I forgot to answer the second part of the previous question, but maybe we can get back to that.
Sure.
The transparency with the current board, we have some horrific examples. Like one of the latest one is anti-Semitic, the swastika incident. It could have been, a lot of people in town take these kind of swastika things, anti-Semitic issues very seriously, even if they are not Jewish. I think that reflects poorly on our community. So I think it would have been very good to handle it as soon as the event happened. Our people.
And sorry, just in terms of that, can you kind of expand upon that in terms of what you would have liked to have seen the administration do?
I would have liked the administration, as soon as it happened, just issued, because that's what the other towns do, just issue a statement saying this happened and we are dealing with it. Then it would have been okay. But they apparently wouldn't handle it, and then the teachers felt compelled to talk to the kids, and then that eventually then teachers got punished for it. So I think that's unacceptable. I also partly blame the press. You're a member of our press, so sorry, Jeff. But the press, I find that maybe self-censoring, because there is a feeling by some people in the town, say, well, let's make our town look better than it is. I mean, swastika incident in high school, it happens, You have to address it. You have to tell the kids that it's wrong to do. And you have to tell the kids how to handle it if they see such a situation arises.
Well, you were at the meeting, and I promise we will get to the second part of the question.
Okay.
But you were at that meeting with the school committee on February 14th, watching, where many members of the community addressed the anti-Semitism, also members of the STA, the administration, school committee attorney. What did you observe? What did you take away from that, watching those proceedings?
First thing, the thing that made me feel good is that people care, even if they are not Jewish. People care. The part about the administration is saying, well, we can't tell you because it's premature or confidential or private. I find that hard to believe. If it's a confidential, release. They said they had an investigation report by an attorney. They can't give it to people. That's horse manure. If there are confidential or private issues in there, just redact those parts and release it. That way you stop the talk. People get a better feel for it, and it will stop people from making up their own opinions or making up their own stories. The best way to handle it is, to release as much information as you are allowed to legally.
What's the school committee's role in this? How can, as a school committee member, you influence this process?
Well, the school committee is, one of the three responsibilities of the school committee is to hold the superintendent accountable, and school committee has, as a collectively, has authority over superintendent's conduct. So the school committee doesn't have any authority in the principal, but I don't think the principal did anything wrong, because I checked, she signed a contract with the Anti-Defamation League in December, so she tried to do things right, but she was also under the influence not to release things to public. This thing blew up because I think the school committee and the superintendent were not proactive, did not effectively handle the situation.
Now back to the first part of, or rather the second part of the question, it was about how would you have graded yourself in transparency when you were on the school committee, the last in serving as chair?
I have done very good initiatives. One of them was putting the school committee packets in the on the website. When I was the chair, because we were looking at documents and talking about things at the meeting, but we had no clue what they were talking about. So we started putting school committee packets on the website so people can download it or look at them before the meeting or during the meeting. After I left, Katie continued with that, so I applaud her for continuing with that. But what happened is I was the chair after I was unelected, I call it. The first thing that happened is, before, all the teachers' email addresses used to be on the website. As soon as Katie became the chair, all of those teacher emails disappeared from the website.
Well, in fairness, the website was redesigned.
But I mean, teachers' email is important thing for the parents to communicate. And students have, I mean, parents deal with the teachers, not only the people who teach the.
You can send emails to the teachers, but you're saying that their address itself you would like to see on.
No, you can send email to the teacher that if your son is or daughter is taking a class from a teacher,
Right.
so you see their email address. But the other teacher, like they interact with other teachers. They have groups, they have after school things. So all those, all the teacher email addresses have disappeared from the school website.
So, but you can go on to the website and send a message just like you can to the school committee when you go on the schools.
Well, you don't see the teacher's
Teacher
name. How do you how do you send it?
So you're saying
do you know,
right?
or
So
you don't know?
you're saying that you would like to just see it. For example, if you were a teacher at this school, you would be able to click on a staff contact, and it would say, Dr. Ural, and you'd click on it, and it would say an email and an email address. So, in terms of transparency, though, when you were the chair, though, with minutes, there was a backlog with minutes, and there were instances where meetings were, not always held in rooms with television cameras, or meetings scheduled, emergency meetings. Is that going in the spirit of transparency, though?
Well, you mentioned three things, so let's talk about those separately. The meetings going on rooms with without cameras, that's news to me. Where did you hear that?
Sure. The teacher's contract was approved in the school committee room without cameras.
We always had cameras, Jeff.
Not for that meeting.
That was a public meeting without cameras?
Correct.
In all the public meetings, even if it's school committee meeting, I made a point to bring a camera.
But just in general, like with the minutes,
the minutes, I tell you what happened with the minutes. It still continues to be a problem.
It does.
I haven't been there for 2 years,
yeah.
and I tell you exactly what the problem is. We still have a very good school committee secretary. I won't mention name because she hates it when I mention her name. So she was great. So she was doing, coming to the meetings, doing the minutes. Also, she was doing school committee communications. So she was a school committee secretary. At one point, she said, I don't want to do the meetings because I don't want to come at night. So can you find somebody else? So she was very experienced and she was very good with the minutes. So what I have done is I looked around, and the superintendent also looked around. I think she posted it internally. But the budget for school committee secretary was $3,500. I mean, who's going to come? Which professional is going to come for $3,500? You have at least 24 meetings a year. So sit through the meetings and then go home and type them. So that's ludicrous to expect to get somebody professional. So I found one, actually school committee attorney, Joe Emerson. I asked him, he said, well, Milton uses this lady. So why don't we, I mean, if you want, you can try it. So she came to one meeting and we paid her, but she was very good. I mean, there was no qualms about her product. So then we talked to, superintendent is in charge of the budget. So we said, in the budget you have $3,500, but no way of hiring somebody with experience for that amount. And she said, no, this is the amount of money we have. So she kept on getting, parents. Parents have other times. So so we couldn't get anybody good. And as you know, the minutes school committee has received after I left numerous violations about from the open meeting law, because open meeting law requires them to have accurate minutes, and it requires them to have timely minutes.
Oh, let's talk. You bring up the budget. Let's talk about the budget. What's your take on the FY18 budget that's been proposed, and what would you have? Do you endorse it? What would you have done differently if you were on the committee? I'd just like to get your thoughts on that.
Well, I have kids in school, so I'm always, having more money for the education, for the instruction part. Administration, I don't know. I mean, we pay too much money to superintendent, I think, and assistant superintendent, and we got, before we didn't have too many office personnel in the administration department, but now Dr. Rizzi has many more helpers. So I think FY18 they requested 4.14% increase. So
about a 4% increase.
Yeah,
yep.
I think it was 4.14. But anyways, so I'm all for anything to do with the instruction that will help the students. So if I were to try to reduce the budget, I would look at the administration.
Right, but that's only a small chunk when you take into account a $45 million
I know,
budget.
But if you look at the 0.5% of 45 million would be 215,000.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, town has a shortage of $300,000. So half a percent is. We have some room for shaving, and that would make a difference.
In terms of, we spoke about the budget. Some other numbers. Just fact of the matter is that the last two elections haven't gone your way. Are you approaching this one differently? What's your approach to this election, looking to get back on the board?
Well, I am what I am, and I am Erdem Ural. So. My platform is clear. Last two elections didn't go well because last year Anita Hill and the previous year Molly Cochran placed dishonest ads in the last issue of Penny Saver. So they put some lies out, and they didn't give me an opportunity to respond because that was the last issue before the election. So I'm hoping I will try to inoculate people because Anita Hill's husband is also running for selection.
Well, were all of your ads honest? I know that's kind of a loaded question to ask.
Of course, I try to be as honest as I can, but hers is, she put that ad, and the next day I put something on the Facebook, taking her lies one by one. But most people are not on the Facebook. Most people read the Penny Saver, so there was no opportunity for me to respond to it.
Now, if you do win, you would still, for much of your tenure, with the exception of 1 year, you've been on the minority in the school committee, on a 4-1 vote, maybe a 3-2 vote. That looks like that would be the case if you won the election again. So how are you prepared to kind of make a difference and serve as a school committee member, but knowing that you may not be in the majority?
I think that's okay. We'll take people, and my constituents will take whatever they can. It would have been better if we were in the majority. I mean, there is some talk about recall, but I don't think that's gonna materialize. People are concerned. Most people don't even appreciate that come June or July, they will be faced up on the average 11% tax hike. So I ask you the question: would you be at least have one person who would speak his mind in the school committee, or you want a bunch of people who get along and try to give you the good news?
No.
So that's my perspective.
Sure. Do you feel though there's a fine line between kind of, not to put words in your mouth, but being like a watchdog, and also being able to function and get along with the other members, the administration, and just to have like a productive working relationship.
I like to have both, because I offer a lot to the school committee members. I'm a scientist, so I know how to teach science. So I can offer on the science area. As a part of my work, I deal with a lot of lawyers, a lot of with court cases. So that's why I was the one who proposed to hire Joe Emerson, and it must have been a good decision because he's still there. So my approach with the law cases, that's the difference between this superintendent's approach and my approach, is that, let's say, there is certain things we know perfectly legal, and other things we know perfectly illegal. So in between there is a gray area. There may be legal or illegal, but that will have to be determined case by case, and if worse comes to worse, by the courts. So my approach is stay on the white side, stay on the clear side. Don't come anywhere near the gray side. That way you save money from the lawyer or court fees, or so that's why Joe Emerson is also is of the same thinking. When I talk to him, he's I always told Joe, give me your honest opinion. I don't want, because you're a lawyer of the school committee, and as you're essentially representing the town interest and the kids' interest. So tell me what's the best for the kid. But the administration, they like to come as close to the possible to the that borderline, and sometimes they get caught.
So I'd like you to take the final 30 seconds or so to,
final
yeah, I know,
30
right? The half hour goes by quick. I've been asking all the candidates this. I'd like you to be able to give a pitch to voters, where explaining, why they should cast one of their two votes for you in the election.
Well, I'm a person of integrity and honesty. I'm here for the best interest of the kids, and I'm also here for the best interest of the townspeople, because come July, you'll be faced with 11% interest in your taxes, and I will be your watchdog to keep your best interest in play all the time.
All right, well, Doctor, thank you so much for joining me. And once again, Dr. Erdem Ural, and there are 3 candidates running for the school committee, 2 seats open in this April's town election. I want to thank you so much for tuning in. I want to thank Michael Hammond for his help directing this show. I'm Jeffrey Pickette. This has been Stoughton Spotlight, Conversations with the Candidates, and make sure you go out and vote in the April town election. Thank you very much.